Hey, did I tell you about the naturalization ceremony that we went to for Camilla's students at Mount Rushmore on Flag Day?
Wait a second. Is this about the election? Are we about to have a super political episode where we both reveal our deepest, innermost thoughts and dreams about politics in the U.S.? Are we finally doing that? We've been avoiding that for years.
No, I'm not interested in that at all. Is it okay if we don't?
Well, I mean, there was just an episode. I mean, a big election, right? So we should talk about that.
There was just a big election, and people feel a lot of things right now. This isn't about that, though. Is it? I mean, would you be okay if we passed on that?
Okay, cool. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. All right.
So what's the deal? Some kind of whatever thing? What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, it was the naturalization ceremony on Flag Day.
Camilla teaches English, and she helps immigrants learn English. Yeah. And
yes.
And this is
Camilla being my wife.
The citizenship testing?
Yeah, so she helps people get to a level of proficiency in English that they can take the citizenship test, that they can go through the process, and that they can become American citizens.
My brother-in-law is an immigrant, and he had to study for this test, right? Is that what you're talking about? Like this test you take?
Yeah.
He was talking to me about this, and it was extremely scary for him because he's learned English recently, and he's not that great at it, but these questions freaked him out. He had to study and study and study.
Well, what do you think of there being a test to be a U.S. citizen? Do you think that's too much?
Is it in English? Like what language is the test in? Because there's not an official language in the U.S., right?
I think English is the official language of the U.S.
Is it really?
I think so. Yeah.
Have
you heard that it's not?
I didn't think we ever actually... Well, I mean, there was a vote between English and German at one point in time, so maybe you're right. I guess it is right. Huh.
How many people voted for the German side of that?
I think if I recall...
9!
No.
I just made that joke up off the... I don't know about the execution.
You dog. That was funny, man. That was really funny.
That's Laffy Taffy level.
That was so stupid. Yes, that's Laffy Taffy level. That's great.
I'm sweaty because I'm embarrassed that I tried it.
That was really
sweaty.
I think what was so funny about it is I was thinking real hard because there is a story about the vote on that, I think. German was almost the official language, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. What are we doing today? Let's do the thing.
I don't remember that. The citizenship test thing, I think it's just fascinating. What would you ask somebody if they showed up and lived in your country and they've been here for a while and they sized it up and they're like, you know what, I like it. I want in. I want to be a recipient of the blessings of liberty. I want to make my contributions to this country as well. I want to plant my flag. I want to become an American citizen. What would you want to make sure that they knew?
That's a great question because I think Europe is going through a crisis at the moment because a lot of immigrants are coming to these countries, these Western countries, but they're bringing their culture, particularly the bad parts, and I'm saying it, the bad parts of their culture with them, and they're not assimilating or they're not blending into the society. And so the beautiful thing about the U.S., I forget who it was that said it, maybe it was Reagan, that said that if you go to Japan, you immigrate to Japan, you will always be an outsider living in Japan. But the beautiful thing about America is you can move here, become a citizen, and you will become an American. You will never be, a Chinese person living in America. You will be an actual American. And I think that's beautiful. And I love that.
I think so too.
I don't know. There's certain things that I don't want to change about America. So I think that the test should have questions about how the government works and, how the judicial system works and what types of things you have to do and freedom. Hey, that person over there, he gets to have his own religion or lack thereof, and you don't get to tell him what to do. And the government doesn't get to tell you what to do. I think it's important for people to understand that. Is that fair?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I like Western civilization. I don't think it is flawless, but I'd love to see someone put forward a version of civilization that is. And we're people. We're broken inside, but also We have redemptive qualities and there's beautiful things about us. It's kind of a mixed bag. Society tends to reflect the innermost thoughts of people, some of which are noble, some of which are selfish, some of which are artistic and beautiful, some of which are shameful. It comes through. Government is us, especially if you live in a republic, a constitutional republic, some sort of democracy, or where there's democratic representation. Who you are as an individual is going to manifest at the larger level of the state and of the society. So yeah, having people with at least somewhat similar values, I do think is important. The West is typically pretty liberal, not like liberal conservative, but like classically liberal. The whole idea is moving away from monarchy and having that degree of self-governance. And the idea, especially in the United States, the Western ideal here is that there's opportunity and that opportunity should be freely available. And if you take it and you seize it and you play your hand the right way, awesome. I have a huge problem with policies that box people out of participating in that opportunity. I think the world works best when it does not matter where someone's from or what they look like. Everybody's invited to play, and then the best ideas are going to win, and some ideas aren't going to be that good. They don't serve an audience or a customer. They're going to go away. But good ideas and successful things that serve other people, people pursuing success, it makes everybody else's thing work better. I don't think I've ever been sheepish about this. I don't like communism very much. I don't think it's a good idea. So I guess for me, I would want someone coming into this country as a citizen to kind of have a basic sense of we're a liberal Western nation. We do tolerance and we do freedom. And those are pretty defining characteristics of what we're about. And I would hope that that expectation would be out there on the front end. Yeah. Am I sounding mean and exclusive? Is that too much?
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the deal. There's a paradox here. So yes, we're a tolerant society. But if you tolerate people that are intolerant, then pretty soon the intolerant people get to propagate their intolerance throughout the society. So you kind of have to be intolerant about intolerance, I think. And I think that's kind of
what kind of intolerance? Intolerant action or intolerant ideas? So let's say somebody went to church as a kid and they really didn't like it and it was an awful experience and they are very, very angry. Not passive atheistic, but angrily atheistic and angry at a religion I practice. I think that's fine. I think that kind of, I just can't tolerate this.
I'm waiting for the question.
Fine.
I don't even understand that question.
Okay. So my point is, if there's a pivot at some point away from advocating against something I believe in, and it's a pivot toward using force to try to punish me for believing it, to me, that is the moment where your speech or your ideas go to action or even legal action, where you're kind of crossing the divide. That's where the debate needs to happen as to what is too much. I don't know. Do you want thought doctrines for what ideas are too intolerant for people to be allowed to think? Or is it an action thing for you too?
I think freedom should be, people should be free to have stupid ideas.
I agree.
I think I see what you're saying now. You're saying once those stupid ideas start moving into reality and they start infringing on the rights of others, that's where it gets weird. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That's a very, very simple way of looking at it. But yes, that is basically what I'm saying.
Do you think a person should be free to be racist?
Yes, because what is the alternative? How can you make someone not racist? How do you make someone not think a thing? To what lengths do you have to go to make people think the right way? First of all, let's assume my definition of racist is the universal definition and I am right. Okay, so first of all, you have to agree on what that even means. But let's say it's my definition and I'm right. How then do I make someone else not hold ideas I think are deplorable to my satisfaction? How do I get in there, into their space, into their head to make sure their ideas are right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So they should be able to have those stupid thoughts, the freedom of the mind, the freedom to think, the freedom to question even. But they also were free to ridicule. It'd be like, that's a moronic
ridicule
idea.
Is the corrective on all of this.
Yeah.
Yes. You just got to be able to freely and openly ridicule ideas you think are terrible. And you got to have thick skin when people ridicule you back because they think your ideas are terrible.
Well, let me...
That's the give and take that kind of makes it work. And further, I should be allowed not to hang out with someone who I think is racist and mean. Like, I shouldn't even have to give a public rationale for why I don't want to hang out with someone whose ideas I don't like or with whom I don't align very well. That's freedom of association. It's basic human right, and I'm a big believer in it.
Well, let me ask you this question. So we're talking about people assimilating into a society, a nation, right?
Yeah.
I was reading sojourner. I think that's the word that I hear a lot in the Bible, talking about people that are, wandering in and out of a society. So here's a question for you.
Sojourner?
Sojourner? Is that how you say it?
I think that's how you say it.
I don't know. I just see
Maybe
it
it's just one of those words I've read a lot. Okay.
Yeah,
we sometimes
same.
don't pronounce things right.
Here's a question for you. When you think American, like you were to draw a picture of an American, what do you think? What comes to mind? Draw me a picture of an American. I have for some reason, when I think American, I have a really weird image in my head, and I've thought it for a while. I'm just wondering what you think when you think American.
I think of someone who dresses roughly like a person you would see in a city or in a mid-sized town in the Midwest. I think of men who wear pants and maybe a casual shirt. I think of the attire that this person has on being the kind of thing that would enable them to do work at a moment's notice physically if they needed to. But also there's some degree of concern with their presentation. Like, it could be tidied up. I think Americans look practical. I do not have an ethnicity that immediately springs to mind because it's all kind of mushed together, I think, in a good way. It's a melting pot. It's highly integrated. And so, yeah, I don't know. To me, an American just looks like a normal dude or a normal lady in the town or the state where I live. I feel like I'm failing the question.
I have the weirdest thing that pops in my head, and it is rooftop Koreans. Do you know?
That is so American.
Do you know what rooftop Koreans are?
I dang well do know what rooftop Koreans are.
So in 1992, the Los Angeles riots, there was a lot happening. I mean, just a lot happening. There were protests, things that after Rodney King, all this stuff was going down. I was very young. I was learning about stuff. And then I learned about these Korean American business owners that there was looting that was starting to happen. And they got rifles and they got on the rooftops of their stores and they protected their stores with guns. And I'm like, that is the most American thing ever. You have these people that immigrated to America, and they're like, man, this is freedom. We have freedom. We're living in this very complex society. We have, like, in the middle of revolt and, all this stuff going on, we're going to get our guns and we're going to protect our business. Rooftop Koreans, man, it's very, very American. And I think it's amazing. I love it. There's so much wrapped up in what happened in 1992 with the Korean immigrants protecting their businesses. I just love it.
Yeah, I feel like your answer is a lot better than mine. Now I look dumb and stupid because I just said pants and a colored shirt.
No, I think a lot of people out there in the world, when they think American, they think loud tourist, maybe cowboy hat.
Which is funny. How often do you see cowboy hats?
Very rarely. Very rarely. I saw one the other night.
1 in 1,000 heads has a cowboy hat on it?
Maybe.
Is it that?
Yeah.
1 in 10,000 heads has a cowboy hat on it?
I don't know. There would be a number for that.
Maybe that? Yeah. Yeah, 1 in 10,000. I think cowboy hats are super American too, but let's be honest, you don't see them very much.
You don't see them very much. So, yeah, okay. So that's what I think of when I think of Americans. So tell me about this test. What's going on here with this test?
Okay, well, bottom line to that point, before I answer that question, I want people to come here and be Americans. That's how the country works. There is this constant influx of new ideas and the best stuff from a whole bunch of different cultures that swirls together to make something really, really cool here. I'm not saying that the U.S. is the exclusive carrier of the baton of Western civilization. Of course it is not. But it's the partial carrier of the baton of Western civilization. And what's fun about it is it's built of all the civilizations. So I super love immigration, and I super love the idea of the country constantly being refreshed by people from different backgrounds with different experiences. Also, I want them to be Americans. I want to actually integrate and retain the values that, in my opinion, make America what it is. And I think the idea of the constitutional republic and all of that is super important. So the citizenship test, what do you put on there? Well, I would hope that it would have some history, so you kind of know what the country was, how we got here, the weird stuff, the good stuff. I would hope that there would be a bunch of civics. I would hope that there would be stuff in there about how to participate in the government, what you do, when you do it, what those dance steps are, because I would want any new citizen to participate and to lend their voice and be a part of the thing, but you got to know how to do it. Mm-hmm. So I went and I pulled up this citizenship test. I think I've got the most recent expression of it in front of me. And I thought it might be fun to reel off some of these questions and see how you do and what you make of them.
Do I get to be a citizen if I pass?
I don't know where you go if you don't pass, but like, I don't have a plan B, so please pass. But yes.
Well, just a test in general is scary. That's anxiety producing, right?
Uh-huh.
Now imagine that test has real world consequences, like, oh, you don't get to stay here kind of consequences. Could the stakes be higher? Like, could they even get higher?
That's pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for you and me, I think a lot of these questions, a lot of these things that you're supposed to know, it's just in the ether. You're accidentally going to learn it eventually. Even if you try to avoid this knowledge, a lot of this is just going to happen to you. It's going to be imposed upon you. But for somebody who wasn't raised in this culture, they're learning all of this from scratch. It's rote memory for them. There's not 100 billion points of connection from just living in it and brining in it for a long time. So yeah, I think it's tough. I think it's challenging. You want a question?
Before we start this, yeah. Do you think there's versions of this test for like Canada and the UK? Because that would be interesting.
Yeah, surely
that would be interesting.
Oh my goodness, I would do horribly.
It would be really fun though, wouldn't it? All right, so maybe third chair, send those into us. I would love to learn more about that. Okay, yes, shoot. Ready for a question.
Okay, here we go. What is the supreme law of the land?
The Constitution, the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, that's very good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, here's an interesting note. So I worked for the Army as a civil servant for many years, not in the Army, but worked for the Army. And as a Department of the Army civilian, you take an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I remember talking to a British soldier who was working with me on something, and I said something about, oh yeah, the Constitution, and so, where does your loyalty lie? Is it with Parliament? Is it with the Prime Minister? And he taps his chest, and there's a little patch right in the middle of his sternum, and it's a crown. He goes, no, mate, there's a crown right here. I serve the Queen. She's the ultimate answer. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. Yeah, and he meant it. Like he's like, I don't take an oath to a country. I don't take an oath to Parliament or anything. I take an oath to the Queen. And I thought, man, that is amazing. Yeah, the Constitution for us, and may it so be for a long time.
Wow. Yeah, it's tricky, though, because an oath to a queen, assuming she is a competent leader and a coherent communicator.
She's not.
Is as simple as, what are your orders?
She's immortal. Not immortal. She is a mortal. She's a person, and she's gone. So now what? Right?
The upside of monarchy is it's really streamlined when what the monarch expects is made clear and when people just do what is expected. The upside of a constitution is theoretically it doesn't flex with the whims of whoever is in charge, theoretically. The downside is it requires interpretation. And I guess that's why you got to have the courts. That's why you got to have judicial review and the Supreme Court and all of that. I don't know. We see both of them work at times in history. We see both of them fail at times in history.
Yeah, that's interesting. The good thing is the people have input to the Constitution. I guess technically they do with kings as well and queens, but the Constitution is alive. It can be changed. There is a mechanism to change it. But I'm with you on the interpretation thing. That's a big deal, especially with the Supreme Court interpreting things. Okay, I'm sorry. We could do a whole episode on any one of these questions, couldn't we?
Yeah, we could. It might be fun.
All right.
Here's one. The idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the U.S. Constitution. What are these words?
We the people.
Very good. Yeah, and that kind of speaks to what we were just talking about. This document is upheld by the will of the people. This is the consent of the governed at that point.
Oh, man, this is fun. Keep going, man.
All right.
There's something powerful about saying we the people. And so that's when I was like, man, this is a fun episode. Thanks for this idea.
Oh, more to come. Here we go. What is an amendment?
Oh, okay. That's when everybody gets together and they say, we're going to tack this thing on to the Constitution. So it's a mechanism to change the Constitution at the will of the people.
Is it easy or hard?
It's very hard. All the states have to get on board, right?
Yeah, there are 2 ways to do it, and both of them are very hard. One is at the central government level. One is at all of the states level.
What's the central government level? I'm not sure I know this.
Okay. The 2 means, hang on a second. I think it comes up in another question.
Okay, let's keep
I
going.
think we should wait on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, the point is it's very hard. It takes a mega majority.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just flippantly keep changing the Constitution. What do you call the first 10 amendments to the Constitution?
The Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights.
Yep.
Yep.
What do they do? Name one of the freedoms that are ensured by the First Amendment.
The freedom of speech.
What else?
The freedom of religion.
Yes. What else?
Freedom of assembly.
Very good. What else?
Oh, gosh. Freedom of the press.
Dude, it's perfect. This is the exact order they're always listed in. What else?
Oh, gosh. I already said freedom of assembly. Oh, man, we're getting to the bottom, the dregs here. Freedom of... That's all I got.
It's kind of built into the first one. You're allowed to criticize the government, and you're allowed to formally, legally make requests of the government to do things.
Oh, freedom of petition?
So you don't have to agree with the government, and you are allowed to petition the government. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Yep, because if you don't have that, then how can you we the people? It isn't really we the people anymore. If there was a thing that was written up, you're not allowed to change it. It was there before you were born. You were born here. Now this is it. If it really is to be we the people, and we the people means right now, you have to have a First Amendment.
I just felt anxiety because I'm thinking about all the rest of the Bill of Rights. And if you go through these questions, I'm going to bomb some of them. I was like, man, this is really fun. And then I was like, oh, wait, my ignorance is laid bare before all. This is not fun anymore. I don't know.
Oh, come on. You got some more of these. You know what the Second Amendment is.
Yeah. The right to bear arms and to maintain an well-ordered militia.
You know what the Fourth Amendment protects against?
Against illegal searches and seizures.
Mm-hmm. Unlawful.
That's important. I think.
Seizures, sure.
I think. Oh yeah. Well, we don't have time for this, but privacy is a really, really big one, and I really want us to define that better. Anyway, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know what the Fifth Amendment does?
Hold on. I don't know that I do. The Fifth Amendment. Oh, I plead the Fifth. You don't have to incriminate yourself.
There you
go. Okay. Woo!
I knew that. Man, just give me a minute.
Yeah, you don't have to. You can't. Yeah. You don't incriminate yourself in a trial.
Yeah. Do you remember what the 10th does?
The 10th Amendment. No, I don't.
That one says if something isn't explicitly outlined here, it belongs to the people, not the government. In terms of
cool
freedoms or decision making or whatever. If we didn't think of it, it's yours. Is kind of the 10th Amendment.
I like that one.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that one. All right, how many amendments does the Constitution have total?
Oh, dear. Matt, we're going to do this. 20...
It's okay. Most people wouldn't know this.
Is it 26? What is it?
27.
27. Oh. So when we were trying to figure out how to set up this ad, you asked me to ask you, didn't you dig a trout pond one time because of a Lady Gaga song?
Yeah, and then you acted like you didn't remember this story. Do you seriously not remember the story?
I do remember the story, but I don't remember what Lady Gaga had to do with it.
Oh, well, that was the song that came on while I was running that excavator unsupervised in my backyard. We had a flood that one day where my church flooded and the house flooded and the whole backyard just got wrecked. And so I had to smooth it out and dig it up. And so I had a mini excavator for a whole day. Just me, no supervision. Everything was painted and marked for the utilities, so I'm not going to hit anything, and I can do whatever I want to my yard. So I'm back there. I started to get real comfortable, and I was like, you know what I've always wanted? A fish pond. I'm going to dig one. And I had my headphones on so it wouldn't be too loud. And on comes Edge of Glory by Lady Gaga, a song I don't particularly resonate with, but boy did I in the moment. And so I put it on repeat, and the more that song played, the more confident I felt in my abilities to excavate, and the more I felt like it'd be a good idea to keep digging. And in the end, well, you saw the pond. It was not a proportionate pond for my backyard.
I think any song you would be excited about if you're on an excavator, because that's what boys like to do. We like to drive big tractors with diggy things on them. That's just what we like to do.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's just exclusive to boys. I've never known anybody to get into one of those and be like, this isn't fun. I don't like it. I wouldn't want to move huge amounts of dirt with a gigantic mech robot. This is miserable. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
We should talk about the sponsor. Because
okay, but now here's the payoff. I agree. We should talk about the sponsor, but let me tell you psychologically what happened to me when I turned off the music and got out.
Okay.
I looked at the giant hole in the ground, and it was magnificent, perfect, beautiful, flawless. And then I looked at this other thing that I had just created that I hadn't anticipated.
A big pile of dirt.
Huge mountain of dirt. Like, where does that go? What do you do with that? That's a bit of a problem, because the thing is, anytime you take the dirt out of the ground, it has to go somewhere. What have you done in the past with the dirt after you take it out of the hole?
Oh, well, it's easy for me because my dog likes to dig holes, and so I just go fill in all the dog holes. That's the easiest thing for me. However, sometimes if you got like a lot of dirt, you don't know what to do with it. And that's why today's sponsor is Dirt Near Me, which is awesome.
Nailed it.
This is a great idea. It took 3 minutes to get there, but we got there.
Whatever, everybody's having fun. This is a great idea, and it's Dirt Near Me, as I understand it, it's a company, it's an app that is owned by people who listen to this show, and that's how we made the connection. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a little baby app. It's a brand new idea. I think they just started it here within the last year as we're recording this anyway. And what have you gleaned about how it works?
So the way Uber works is you have unutilized resources. So it's a way of matching up supply and demand. That's what Uber did for the transportation world. Dirt Near Me is kind of the same thing for the Earth world. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
dude, that was really good. You're killing it. Don't stop.
It matches up the supply and demand of like, hey, I just dug a hole. I have a lot of dirt. Mm-hmm. I need to do something with it. It's going to cost a lot of money to load this up and take it somewhere like across county if I have a big dump truck I have to load up or something. However, if your neighbor is like, my dog digs a lot of holes and I need to fill in these holes, then it would make sense for you guys to get together, right? And like, hey, you need dirt, I've got dirt. That's the deal. That's how Dirt Near Me works, and I think it's a really smart idea.
Yes, because it costs you a crap ton of money, like you were saying, to get rid of the dirt, but it also would cost your neighbor a crap ton of money to go get dirt. So what if you just helped each other out? It's a helping app.
Yeah, pretty cool. So I think it's a really smart idea. So there's an app, Dirt Near Me. Just look at the App Store. Also, there's a website, dirtnearme.com. You can go on there and you can check out how everything works. But my understanding is you've got it pulled up, right? It's a pretty early days kind of thing. They're just now getting this started. And so the idea is, like, you have it pulled up there on your phone, right? Where's the closest dirt?
I do. The closest dirt for me is Denver, Colorado. I live in a pretty wild part of the country here, and I'm not seeing anything in Rapid City, South Dakota, but it doesn't surprise me because this map is just filling in. But as I go south and east, there's a lot more dots on the map. And I don't know, basically I live in a dirt desert up here in the Dakotas, but everywhere else is starting to get hits as I scroll around, and quite a bit the further south and east I go. They're off to a good start.
So with the app there, let's say I have a big pile of dirt. How would I get rid of it?
This is unbelievably simple and elegant. 2 4-letter words that aren't swears are in giant buttons at the top of a map. One says have, the other says need.
Oh,
so
genius.
if you have dirt and you want it to go away, you click this button like I'm doing right now, and then you say what you got and where it is. It's very simple. And then if you need dirt, you click the other one, and it shows you everything that's anywhere near you, all the dirt that is near you, you might say.
That's awesome. A huge thank you to Dirt Near Me for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. I'm grateful. Check it out, dirtnearme.com. You could also go to the App Store and download Dirt Near Me.
It's free. There's no charge for anything on the app or on the site. And if you felt like telling them that you got there through this podcast, that would be awesome. If not, that's okay too. Just either way, go check it out. It's pretty cool. And it's an easy way to support somebody who's doing something creative and communicating it well, and who likes this program and has wonderful taste in podcasts. Dirt Near Me.
And thanks, Jake, for sponsoring. We're grateful. Are you going to ship me out of America now? Because I didn't.
No, you're still
right.
an American. You're doing great.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you're doing absolutely great. What document? I'm phrasing this a little differently than the way they asked the question. What document was essentially the point of separation between the American colonies and Great Britain?
Oh, the Declaration of Independence. It's great.
Yeah, who wrote that one?
Who wrote that? Did Ben Franklin work on that? Declaration of Independence.
Jefferson.
Jefferson. John Hancock signed it real big. A lot of people
Go ahead.
A lot of people signed that thing, and they paid for it dearly. So it was Jefferson that wrote it by himself. Was John Adams involved as well?
It's not on the test, but I think it was Jefferson. Yeah, and I think it was Jefferson. I think Jefferson just wrote it, as I recall, but I don't have it in front of me. I don't know.
That's impressive.
All right. What is, this is question number 11. What is the economic system in the United States?
Oh, I don't know that I mean, it's fiat currency capitalism. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, it's a capitalist economy. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
That is straight up in the citizenship test.
Awesome.
It's not a socialist system. It is not a communist system, which, I mean, communism is a government system more than an economic system, but we are a market economy system. That is right there in the test.
That's cool.
All right. Name the 3 branches of government.
Judicial, legislative, and executive.
What 2 houses make up the legislative branch?
House of Representatives and the Senate. This is a really good test. This feels like 8th grade level.
You're doing great. Yeah.
Is that what it feels like to you?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe something like that. But all these questions are easy if you know the answer. They're all real hard if you don't.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that. That's an easy one. Well, yeah, because you know it. How many senators are there in the U.S. Senate?
Okay, there's 100, and D.C. doesn't get any, right?
Nope.
So it's just 100.
Yep. How do we get to that number?
2 per state, 50 states.
Yeah, very good. How often are senators elected? How long are their terms?
Every 6 years. Every 6 years.
Very good.
Oh.
Who are the 2 senators from the state of Alabama?
Oh, goodness. State of Alabama, Katie Britt and Tuberville. Coach.
The football coach?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Tommy Tuberville. Yeah.
Okay. All right. How often are representatives elected?
Oh, this is harder. It's 2 years, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, every 2 years. So they got to campaign a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How many representatives are there per state?
Well, it depends on how big the state is. So there's 435 total, and Like there's a number for population. Like every X number of people, you get another representative, except for Wyoming. Wyoming just kind of gets one. But
you have one.
Yeah.
Please don't murder us with your bears.
Right. And I think Californians are a little mad about that the Wyomistanians, is that how you say it? Is that the demonym for
But they're
Wyoming?
not mad about Vermont.
What do you mean?
Well, yeah, people make the argument that it's unfair that a state like Wyoming is overrepresented. But just for people outside of our political system, this debate that goes on, it's a partisan debate because generally the Republican Party in our country loses national elections. They lose the popular vote. But because of the way our system works, the overrepresentation in the minds of people who lean Democrat in our country, the overrepresentation of smaller states gives them, in the opinion of Democrats, an outsized influence on the political process when it comes to the election of presidents. My little jab there was just to point out that it does kind of cut both ways because there are small states that lean toward both parties. But yeah, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, these are all three small states that all lean toward Republican. So oftentimes Democrat critics of Republican ideas will look at that and say, hey, maybe that's not fair. Maybe you're overrepresented there because you get that free representative and you get those free 2 senators, and those 2 senators in particular correspond to a really small population, whereas California, which is huge, they also only get 2 senators. So there's some tension in our country about that because, the 2 political parties, one tends a little more rural right now, one tends a little more urban right now, and people get worked up about politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Who is your representative from your district?
Oh, goodness. I believe it's a man named Dale Strong. I believe that's my representative.
Nice job, man.
I've got to look that up now.
I would love to know.
Did you look it up already?
I don't know who your senators. I've heard of Tuberville and I've heard of Britt now that you mention them, but I never could have got those without you telling me. I know South Dakota's, I think. We have Rounds, Mike Rounds, and oh my goodness, Johnson is our congressman, but our senators are Rounds and Thune. Yeah. Who's your governor?
Oh, Meemaw.
Kay Ivey, is that right?
Yeah, but we call her Meemaw. Yeah,
okay, well,
Kay Ivey.
That's very nice. We don't call our female governor.
Hold on. I've got to
Meemaw.
find my representative right now. I'm on the website. Got 2 of them nearby here, Dale Strong and Robert Adderholt. So could be one of those 2 guys.
Okay. And
okay,
what do you call a legislature or legislative branch that has 2 houses? What's the name for that?
That's a question. Wow. Is it bicameral? Is that it?
Bicameral, like 2 cameras.
Bicameral?
Bicameral.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm. You're sandbagging.
Is it like a dromedary and then a camel?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's a bicameral legislature. So why is that the way we have it set up? Why don't we just have one house to make all of the laws?
Because we are a democratic republic. So we're represented by population, also by states. I'm kind of doing the question mark thing with my eyebrows right now.
I think you're doing great. What?
I don't know.
Okay, well, how is a state different than a province?
How is a state different than a province? I don't know. A state is it's not a nation state, but it's a state. It can make the laws for itself, but the federal government is above that. I don't know. How is a state different than a province?
Well,
you mean in like how it functions? Like I know states get senators.
Yeah, well, outside of the United States, if you say the state, you just mean a government. You mean a country, right? But here,
like a nation state, yeah.
Yeah. So France is a state. Germany is a state, the state of Germany. But we have 50 states, and then we have some provinces, territories, etc. as well. We have one governing district that is not a state. But in a way, it's kind of like 50 countries, depending on who you talk to. And one vision that people had back then and even now was that it really would be kind of 50 little independent countries who can make their own laws, but we pool our resources to protect borders, and we have open borders amongst us. You can freely move between any of the states without even checking in. You don't even have to show anybody a piece of ID. You can just walk across the line and you'd never know if there weren't a sign there. That was kind of the vision. So there are some people historically who've said, we want a really strong central government, and the states really just are provinces, but pat you on the head. We'll let you use the term state. That's cute. It's kind of a vestigial legacy term. But then there are other people like, no, it's about the states. Yeah, those are the Federalists. More power to the central government, whereas the anti-Federalists, way back in the founding days of our country, would say, no, we want more power to the individual governments of these individual states. And really, that's kind of been the tension politically for us for 250 years, right?
Yeah.
The idea then of having a bicameral legislature is to kind of accommodate both. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes me wonder why Puerto Rico does not want to be a state. They don't want to be a state, right?
Some people there probably do. I don't know what the percentages are. There's some people in Hawaii who don't want to be a state anymore. I mean,
really?
At any given time, there's probably going to be a movement of independence-minded people or join-up-minded people in a situation like that. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So the idea of the Senate is everybody gets the same representation no matter what. And so Wyoming is just as much one of the 50 states as California. They're measured just by the fact that they are independent entities that exist. Whereas the House of Representatives is meant to say, yeah, but fair is fair. And we should represent the interests of all of those people who live in California because they're really not equal to Wyoming. That is more people. There's more life happening there that has to be taken into account. If you had only one or only the other, then Wyoming could run unfairly roughshod over California, or California could run unfairly roughshod over Wyoming. This makes it so we can have nice things and coexist. Some people think that system is maybe broken and needs to be changed, especially when it comes to electing the president. Other people like it. I don't know. That's the best of it.
Like, what on earth could you change it to make people? Yeah, I don't know. I think it's pretty genius.
Well, it would be a unicameral legislature, or keep the bicameral legislature, but just eliminate the electoral college. And that is in here. I'm not to that question yet, but what is the electoral college? Let's just skip ahead to that.
Okay, so that's where every state gets a certain number of votes based on population. And so that's what actually elects the president. So it is possible that, and it happens, it's possible for a president to be elected and not gain the majority of the popular vote.
It's not only possible, it's strategically shrewd in a closely divided election to not even bother to try to win the popular election in some circumstances, because you have to waste a lot of money campaigning in places that are not particularly receptive to your ideas. So there's a game to be played in American presidential politics where you want to go and try to get certain key states that you might be able to nudge to your team's direction. And in 2016, Trump, he won the Electoral College, but by a decent amount lost the popular vote, and that caused tension. I mean, that's a really tricky thing. And understandably, people who did not vote for Trump could look at that and be like, but most of us wanted the other lady, and instead we ended up with Trump. What the heck? Whereas you can also see the side of people from smaller parts of the country who would be like, how come 15 cities get to dictate everything to us? So it's tricky.
I think the Electoral College makes sense. One thing that's interesting is I've heard about some states that are considering dividing up their votes. Like, for example, Alabama gets 9 Electoral College votes, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that's a lot. I didn't know it was that big.
Yeah, we get 9. And so it would be interesting to, like, let's say Alabama says, okay, we're going to do the vote, and however many votes, the percentage-wise, goes to whoever. You know what I mean? And it's interesting that states don't do that. They give all of their votes when they do the polling, and they figure out, okay, how are we going to do the Electoral College stuff? I've heard, I forget what state it was, maybe Colorado, was considering breaking up their votes and doing it by percentage. I don't think that's very smart for the states. It makes them less powerful.
Why don't you think that would be smart?
I think it makes the states less powerful, but I don't know. It's quite interesting. Like, think about if California did that. California has 40-something electoral college votes. Well, if they said, hey, we're going to split up our votes, I mean, that would drastically moderate the country.
Well, let's just call it what it is. That would be political suicide for the Democratic Party, one of our two major parties here. We have the Republicans and Democrats. The Democrats have California on lockdown and have for decades. So they get this just right off the bat, this huge amount of electoral votes that are just assumed. The closest thing to that for Republicans would be Texas or Florida, but New York and California are going to go Democrat every time right now. So there would be no reason politically for the controlling party there to ever agree to that. And likewise in Texas or Florida, there'd be no reason for the dominant party there to ever agree to that. All of presidential election politics is kind of predicated on these states sort of, just being assumed to go a certain way. But Maine and Nebraska have had enough variety there politically that at a given point they did make the move to divide up their electoral votes. And in the most recent election, both of those two states did provide votes for both parties at one level or another.
Did they really?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. You said a word in there, like they've had California on lockdown for decades. There's this political flip that happened. I remember when my senator, Richard Shelby, was a Democrat, and then like halfway through one of his terms, he just flipped, and he's like, I'm a Republican now. Because the way everything, like my grandfather ran for Congress as a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
If he ran today, he would probably end up running as a Republican. And what's interesting is I'm noticing the Republican policies shift now. Like I was talking to a Democrat the other day, and I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but I was, and you're not either, right?
I'm not. Nope. I'm a registered libertarian, but basically, I don't know. I don't align with that party either. I just wanted to vote in a primary. So I'm kind of...
Are you going to unregister?
I am. Yeah. I disagree more than I agree at this point. There's no point in me staying registered in any party.
I was having a conversation with a Democrat friend of mine that we both know the other day, and he pointed out that you used to be able to... no. He pointed out that you used to be able to say, hey, this is what the Republican Party stands for, and you used to be able to like write down their policies and their platform, and it's changing to the point where it's very difficult to do that now. And it makes me wonder what happened before the political parties flipped back in the day when Richard Shelby flipped from Democrat to Republican. It makes me wonder, like, is something like that happening again? I mean, I don't know. I think we've been very, very polarized for a while now, and I would love for everything to moderate a bit. Okay, we got to get back to these questions, don't we?
Okay, yeah, and I mean, you're getting right to a thing that it's almost difficult to talk about it in just practical terms without passions becoming ignited for people, because this stuff has implications, but that's exactly why you want to talk about it in dispassionate terms from time to time. And I feel like these questions are just totally fair. They're not leading anybody in any direction. It's just very practically, this is what it is, and you should know what it is if you want to be a citizen. So I like the way they're doing it.
Absolutely.
Okay. In the last presidential election, what were the names of the presidential and vice presidential candidates from both of the two major parties?
That's a question on the test?
Well, the question on the test is asking, what is the name of the president and vice president of the United States right now? But as we're recording this, we're kind of on a seam between the two. So I don't know how they would ask the question if someone were taking it right now.
I see. Yeah. So on one side, you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And on the other side, you had Donald Trump and J.D. Vance.
Yeah, and if the president can no longer serve, who becomes president?
Oh, the chain of succession. This is good. Vice president.
Mm-hmm. And this is the next question on the test. If both the president and vice president can no longer serve, who becomes president?
Vermin Supreme. No, it's the Secretary of State.
No,
it's the Speaker of the House.
It is the Speaker of the House. Mm-hmm.
It's Speaker of the House. Oh, man, I almost missed that.
Okay, next question. Who is the current Speaker of the House?
Oh, it's if the House. It's not. Dang. I don't know. I'm supposed to know that. I don't know.
I think it's Mike Johnson, right?
Do you have to kick me out of America now?
No. You still get to be in. You're passing. You're doing great.
Oh,
no,
okay.
you're doing phenomenally well, dude. You're doing great.
Dang.
I think that's right. Who was it before him?
Before him? Dude, I don't know. I mean, it was Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's right. Yeah, I mean, well, there were some Republicans before Mike Johnson as well, but for the longest time, it was Nancy Pelosi. That might be the one that people would remember if they've been paying attention to American politics. Who is the commander-in-chief of the military?
The President of the United States.
Yeah. Who signs bills to become laws?
The president. Well, they have to be, okay. Well, they have to be passed first by both houses.
I'm an amendment to be, I'm an amendment to be, and I'm hoping that they'll ratify me. Just keep going right on through it. You'll get it all.
Yes, Schoolhouse rocks. I'm just a bill. But so it
I did the Simpsons
version.
version. That was the Simpsons one about beating people who burn flags. That one's not even real. That's not the actual song.
I'm just a bill. I'm only a bill.
It is. That's
and
what
I'm
it is.
sitting here on Capitol Hill.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah. So
I wish they'd do those again, like a new series.
Yeah, so it's got to go through both sides of Congress, right? So the House of Representatives and the Senate, and then if it gets past both of that, it gets to go to the president, and the president either signs it or vetoes it. And if the president vetoes it, it gets to go back, and they can turbo majority it, and they can still override the veto.
Yeah, very good. What are the two ways a president can veto a bill?
By not signing it, or just straight veto, right?
Yep. You can passively veto it by just letting it sit there. I think they call that a pocket veto. Or you can just sign the line. There's probably a line on the bill that's like, no. And you can sign that one if you're president. I don't know. I've never seen one of those. I've never been president. Okay. What is the term for all of the advisors the president appoints for himself? The head of 15 different executive departments.
Is it his cabinet?
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Is that right?
Advise the president. Name any two cabinet level positions. The Secretary of
Transportation.
Wow, you went there. Yeah, very good.
Secretary of Defense.
Yeah. Okay, let's have fun. How many more can you get?
Let's think. Housing? Isn't there a housing weirdness?
Yep. Housing
thing?
and urban development. Okay, we got three between us.
The Secretary of...
I don't have it up in front of me either, so I'm going to help. Treasury.
Okay. Oh,
that's
wow.
4.
Okay, Treasury.
State is 5.
Secretary of State is in there? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Interior is 6. Ag is 7.
Secretary of Agriculture? Wow.
I think that's
I lost this one, man.
No, you're fine.
These aren't all separate questions, are they? Because if these are all separate questions,
no. I don't think you need to know these. I don't think these are actually on the test. The Attorney General is part of the cabinet. Veterans Affairs. It's 9. We're doing pretty well. People in the third chair.
You're doing well. I'm staring off in the corner
others.
of the room, squinting.
You got housing and urban development, dude. That was really good. Oh, Homeland Security.
No, you're welcome. Yeah. Is there an aviation one in there, or is that's under transportation?
Yeah, it'd be under transportation. Did we say energy? You said energy.
I did not say energy.
Energy's got to be one
Department
too.
of Energy. Yeah, I guess there would be. Yeah, the DOE. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the DOJ, Department of Justice, that's the Attorney General?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
HHS, Health and Human Services. I think we got most of them. That's pretty good.
I'm thinking about that clip from the new president of Argentina. He's got
Javier
this whiteboard
Milei.
in front of him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. When he comes in, I mean, it's clear political theater, but it's so fun. He's got all these stickers on the board, and they're all the different ministries of his countries, like Ministeria of Science and Technology, afuera! And he rips it off, afuera! And he rips it off the board. He's like, finished. We're done with this. I don't want this. Can you do this? Can a president just say, I don't want this department of the government anymore? Can you do that?
According to the citizenship test, presidents are allowed to put stickers on whiteboards and rip them off and yell "afuera."
Afuera!
But I don't know if that's binding legally for sure or not.
Such
I don't
a
know.
good video, dude.
I don't know how that
That's
works.
such a good.
It's funny because you remember the Bill thing, the Schoolhouse Rock. I was singing the Simpsons version from like 1990. But have you seen the SNL version about executive orders?
No, I haven't.
Oh, dude. Oh, it's great. It's the whole thing. It's Schoolhouse Rock, and I don't remember who plays who, but one of the characters comes along and is like, "I'm a bill, and here is how I become a law. If I'm lucky, one day I'll be made a law, but today I'm still just a bill." And then this other guy walks in, dressed like a bill or a sheet of paper as well, and he's smoking, and he's got a 5 o'clock shadow, and he comes in, and the kid's like, "Who are you?" "I'm an executive order, and I pretty much just happen." Then that's the entire song.
That's pretty good. So
I think that's the truth about that. I don't think anybody understands executive orders.
Yeah, and I don't know how they get executed. Well, one of the questions I have, when I worked with the Army, we would say, I'm a Department of the Army civilian. That's what I would say. And I was a DAC. Does that mean that the Army is a department on that same... Because I know you have the Department of the Army and you have the Department of the Navy.
That's all got to be part of the Department of Defense, right?
Yeah, but they're called departments.
Well, they're departments within departments. I mean, it's a big government, man.
Okay. Is that how it works?
I don't know. It's not on the quiz.
All right. Well, let's move forward. I want to feel like I know things again.
I don't know. And I think that's where a lot of people's knowledge of how this all works starts to go away, though, as it gets big and overwhelming. Like, there's all this bureaucracy. I don't know where it all fits. And things that we don't understand, we tend to not like them.
The Department of the Army is one of 3 military departments within the Department of Defense.
Uh-huh.
Okay, got it. All right. So I guess they're under the executive department. Preceding agencies are the Department of War and the Department of the Navy. Oh, interesting. That's what it was called beforehand. The Department of War. Man, that kind of sounds...
That's cooler.
Wow. It does sound cooler. Oh, yeah. Okay. What's the next question, Matt?
Okay. What does the judicial branch do?
They enforce laws. Right?
I don't think they have enforcement. I think that's the executive branch. The executive executes.
Well, I mean, cops are part of the we're talking about the judicial branch. I'm sorry. I was just thinking, I'm talking about the Supreme Court, and they interpret the law.
Okay, yeah. So they review and interpret laws. That one is huge. They decide if laws go against the Constitution or not. Do you know what that is called? That practice of seeing if a law matches up okay with the Constitution?
No, I don't.
That is called judicial review. And the interesting thing about judicial review is it seems like that would be established in the Constitution, but it kind of wasn't. It is more explicitly established by a Supreme Court decision made by the Supreme Court. And I think that was Marbury versus Madison, but I don't remember 100% for sure. But that sounds right.
I need to go
me.
brush up on that.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's a very, very interesting thing. The judicial branch evolved, in my opinion, the most slowly. It took shape the most slowly. But yeah, you adjudicate disputes. You make sure laws check out. What is the highest court in the U.S.?
The Supreme Court.
How many justices?
There's 9. 9 justices. Yeah.
I do not have it in front of me on this quiz, but who are they?
Oh, goodness. John Roberts.
Yeah, there's one.
Let's see. Clarence Thomas.
Very good. That's 2.
Oh, I forget her name. The lady. Is Alito still 1?
Alito is 3.
I forgot the lady's name. There's a new lady.
Ketanji Brown Jackson. I think I'm saying that right. I might have screwed up her first name, but Brown Jackson is her last name. That's 4.
I think I'm out.
Okay. Amy Coney Barrett, Sotomayor, Gorsuch. I don't know quite how you say that.
Yep. When you say all these, they all ring a bell.
Kavanaugh, he was is a very contentious.
He's the most recent.
Approval. No, Amy Coney Barrett was after Kavanaugh.
Yeah. That's her. That's the one I was
and Elena Kagan is the 9th. So I think we got them all.
I am realizing that we're going through a book at a little small group I'm in church, and I realize I'm about to have to leave because I got to read my chapter for the book. Because I don't want to be sitting in this circle and look like a moron.
You're not going to be a citizen. Okay, all right, lightning round. Can I finish it with the lightning round? How much time do I have?
Yeah, let's go lightning round to see if I get to stay in America.
Okay, what is the capital of your state?
Montgomery. I was there 2 days ago. Go ahead.
Name the two major political parties in the U.S.
Democrat, Republican.
What is the political party of the current sitting president?
Democrat.
Mm-hmm. How old do you have to be to vote?
18.
Name one responsibility that is only for U.S. citizens.
One responsibility. I mean,
that
voting?
Is the exact phrasing of the question. Yep. Voting and
becoming president.
Jury duty. Jury duty are two responsibilities that are only for U.S. citizens.
Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Name two rights of everyone living in the United States, regardless of citizenship.
Two rights of everyone. I don't know. What is it?
First Amendment, Second Amendment, freedom of speech, right to bear arms.
Really?
You do not have to be a citizen to have freedom of speech in the United States.
I learned something today. That's cool.
I'm glad there's not a double standard. But I don't think you want police officers going out to people talking on the corner and being like, all right, I don't like what you're saying, but let's see if you're a citizen before I do anything about it.
Where are your papers?
Oh, dear. Name a promise you make when you become a U.S. citizen.
It's an oath to defend the Constitution.
Defend the Constitution and laws of the United States. Yep, it was pretty amazing at that Flag Day ceremony to see this little old lady from Peru with her traditional Peruvian head covering who weighs about 70 pounds, with her hand up, making this oath to defend the Constitution.
I would have lost it, dude.
She will do what is needed to defend the Constitution. Dude, it was
I would have lost it.
It was awesome.
I mean, there we are. We're back at Rooftop Koreans.
Yep.
So there's something about e pluribus unum, out of many one. There's something about this melting pot of cultures and people all coming together for this crazy, crazy experiment in freedom. And I love it, man. I absolutely love this country. It's not perfect at all. And a lot of people are upset most of the time. But good grief, man.
That's part of the fun.
It's like it's the best thing we have going. Like, we being people. They say what you want about this country, but people are still doing anything they can to try to get here every single day. It's awesome.
Yeah. I like history. I like to read about how other people have done it through the centuries with the ideas and the technology and the resources they had in the moment. I believe in these ideas. I do not think they're perfect, but they're the least flawed of any of the ideas I've seen going in the history of ideas. If you want to have freedom, but you still want to have some kind of law and order and predictability and prosperity, and if you want to invite other people who aren't already just like you to be a part of it, to keep mixing it up and refreshing the thing and building new ideas, this is the way to do it. And there's always ways to tweak it or make it better, but part of the reason I wanted to have this conversation is I was kind of in the mood to step back from usually when you talk about the United States and the government and all of that, it's a political fight that you're having. But there's a certain elegance to this flawed system that it's very experimental. It's very weird. The people who put this together back in the day, they were trying to take all the lessons of history and with a fresh start, they were running the simulation of if we moved to an island and we started all over, what could we do to really get it right and not make the same mistakes we made in the past? This was their attempt to do it. And the fact that it's still going after a couple hundred years and change and going fairly well is, all partisan politics aside, I think it's pretty compelling.
Yeah, man. I love it. I really do. Thank you very much for doing this. It was a blast. And do I get to stay?
Yeah, you passed, and I declare you a U.S. citizen. And please never, ever, ever do anything like this to me with things that you are an expert in or like or care about, because I will wilt under the pressure and fail.
You actually gave this test to people in your classes, right? Like, isn't this a thing you did in your history classes?
My feeling was that if you wanted to get 3 accredited college credits in U.S. history, you must, at a minimum, be able to get a 90% on the citizenship quiz. You're a college student, you've taken the classes, you have to be able to pass the citizenship quiz. So yeah, I would put it in the Learning Center, and just any point, you could try as many times as you wanted. At some point during the semester, you had to get a 90% on the citizenship test, or you failed the whole class. It just didn't matter how well you did at everything else.
Did you ever fail somebody?
I did. Yeah, I did.
That's unfortunate.
I was hardcore. There were people who did not believe me, and they tested me on it, and they did not pass the class. But that was a tiny minority. Tiny. Maybe 1 in my entire career, maybe 2. But yes, I meant it. You must have this knowledge to get college credits in U.S. history. I think
it's fair. I think it'd be interesting if Americans took this test, like to get your driver's license or something. I think it's fascinating. I think it'd be better for it. Unfortunately, Matt, I do have to go. Thank you very much for doing this. I really enjoyed it. And I just want to say, may God bless America.
And I just want to say, I agree. And also, can you imagine how horribly we would perform on the Hungarian citizenship test?
I wanted to. That'd be great.
My goodness, there's literally one country on this planet I have any chance of passing this, and it's the one that we just looked at together. If we tried any of these others, may God have mercy on our souls.